to heat up your frozen dinners, grab your TV tray, and settle in for another episode of the Plus Platoon, your podcast for all things Disney Plus, brought to you by Disney Plus fans. Watch along with us every week as we cover all the new, the old, the good, and the bad on Disney Plus. So put down that remote, don't touch that dial, and welcome your fabulous Plus Platoon host.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Plus Platoon. We're a Disney Plus fan podcast that gives honest, spoiler-filled reviews of movies and shows on Disney Plus. We'll look at new releases, coming attractions, and we'll even go back into the vault to revisit some of the classic Disney that's on the platform. Make sure you're subscribed and you will never miss a moment. I'm going to bring in my girl, Kate. Kate, good to see you this evening.
Oh, so good to see you. I am very, very excited to talk about this documentary.
Yeah, should be fun.
Yeah.
Next, we've got Peter. Pete, glad to have you with us.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear what our resident mouse has to say.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. And direct from his flying trip through his teaching meetings, Steve. Steve, glad you made it. Guys,
It's a good one.
yeah, if you have not already, please like, subscribe, share. We are at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere at Plus Platoon. More likes, more shares equals more people. So
Help us.
yeah. All right. Kate, as we always do, we start with the Disney Plus news. What do we got going on this week?
We sure do. It's time for the Disney Plus news. First of all, The Mandalorian Season 3 will premiere on Disney Plus on March 1st. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. Next up,
I need to get caught up on the seasons.
I'm not even gonna touch that one. I got a long way to go. It's fine. Bad Batch Season 2 premiering January 4th released a trailer for the new season. Did any of you watch that?
Pete?
I didn't watch the trailer yet. No, I'm sure Gina and I will be watching the series, but
I'm sure you will too.
I don't think it's going to be a Plus Platoon thing.
It will not be.
And last but not unfortunately least, effective today, December 8th, the price for all Disney Plus services and bundles is increasing. Wow.
Yeah. I still have not heard from Verizon because I know a bunch of us get the bundle from Verizon. I still have not heard how that's going to change. So it'll
Right. I was going to ask that question because I also have the Verizon bundle and have not been paying since I switched to that. And basically, I guess my question is, are we going to get like the commercial version or the not commercial version?
If we get the commercial version, I will probably honestly go pay for it.
Yeah.
Because I don't do commercials.
I could see having a commercial level package for a service I don't use a lot,
like Hulu.
Like Hulu, I don't mind it with commercials because I rarely watch things on Hulu. But yeah, I watch so much on Disney Plus, I would be willing to pay the upgrade fee.
Yeah, and ESPN, the shows have commercials anyway, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
but no, I will not pay for a Disney Plus with commercial. I will not pay for a Disney Plus. I will pay for one that does not have commercials. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah,
I'm with you, man.
So, okay. Speaking of commercialization, this week we are watching the new Disney documentary, Mickey, the Story of a Mouse. Basically follows Mickey's origins from his creation, the mythical story of creation on the train by Walt Disney, all the way up through the new Disney Mickey Mouse cartoons that are on Disney Channel and other places. So, Pete, I'm still going to go ahead and start with you. I know we discussed this in the background. I'm going to start with you, though, because I've got a feeling I know how this is going to go tonight.
Okay.
Was this a worthwhile watch?
I'm going to say marginally, just barely. There were parts of this that I enjoyed. I'll say the first third to half of it. But the further it went on, the more I had issue with it. It almost seemed to me like it was, for a documentary, there was sure an awful lot of opinion in it. And a lot of opinion that I didn't think was particularly well thought out or that I agreed with. I really just wish they had spent more time telling us about the history, and that's the part that I liked. But then it seemed like starting with World War II, when they got into like, Mickey represented freedom, and the Hitler liked Mickey until he realized that Mickey was against no, Hitler always liked Mickey. Like, there were just things like that like, yeah, Hitler liked Mickey. He dictators are not bright enough to realize that a cartoon represents freedom. And like all those things like that throughout the rest of the movie, that the counterculture took on Mickey, and embraced Mickey, and I was all like, this is all baloney. Sorry, I just really thought that. And then as it got towards the end, I really didn't agree with the things they were talking about, especially saying that in the parks, Mickey was just a corporate symbol, because he isn't anywhere close to that. People don't wait in line for an hour to meet a corporate symbol. It's stupid. It's stupid. If he was just a corporate symbol, they wouldn't do that. Everybody would be waiting in line to see the princesses, and no one would be waiting in line for Mickey. Sorry, Mickey's got the longest line. And how about if you're going to have a special about Mickey Mouse? Sorry to go on a long time. How do you ignore Mickey Mouse Clubhouse? Because Mickey Mouse Clubhouse really revitalized Mickey for kids.
Yes.
Agreed. Thank you.
And this included my daughter's age, because my daughter was the perfect age for that show. She was
my son. Yeah.
Agreed.
She was I don't know, 4 or 5 when it first came on, and she loved that show, and that's how she got to know all the characters and everything like that. And they ignored it in favor of the new Mickey Mouse shorts, which a lot of people don't like. I'll admit I don't mind them, but I know a lot of people don't like those. But like, why ignore? I'm fine with showing those, but why ignore them?
I will say one of the videos that is coming out some point when my son is seriously dating is him at 1 doing the hot dog dance.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that show was. I mean, I don't know if I want to say that show was great, but it was great for that age.
It was great for kids.
It was great for kids. Yeah, and it was on for a long time, and I still think they have the Mickey Racers show is still on there.
Road to Racers are still on.
And there's a new, like, the Mickey Treehouse or something like that.
Oh, that one I don't know.
Yeah.
So
traditional look Mickey on these new shows.
Right. So I don't understand how you're going to have you're going to wrap up your documentary and ignore that. So I'm going to let Steve continue, because I don't want to hog all the opinion. But I was just, it was interesting, but I was also very disappointed in it. So Steve.
I'm going to say similar. I was really hoping for sort of like the true history of Mickey Mouse, like from the beginning and where it went. And we thought we got some parts of that. And then some of it was really like sort of quick and not really dealt in, like the entire of true story, or which is question coming up. Does Walt Disney deserve all the credit? I feel like that was sort of really brushed quickly to the side and not really addressed. What I really enjoyed is just how the style of Mickey Mouse changed over time. It made me really sort of appreciate, you went from here, and then here they added how they changed the eyes and how that changed things. And then just how the sort of the personality changed, sort of fit the needs of what they needed. And for me, how Donald Duck really came about, because Donald Duck's my favorite character. There are parts of it I'm going, why are you talking about this? Like I think the tattoo parlor that used to house there, of totally pointless, cool, interesting fact, but yes. I did appreciate that they addressed how some of the older Mickey Mouse cartoons are now sort of inappropriate, and actually really addressed it, and then talked about that. Yes. And then how the one person total lock is, we need to address it, and we do need to hear about it to understand that it is part of the history of it. So I really appreciated that. I liked parts of it. Some parts of it was like, whatever. I mean, I've watched it probably 2 times. I did go back and rewatch it to make sure that I picked up on everything.
You're a better man than I would.
But,
I couldn't watch this twice.
I like documentaries, so that's sort of my thing.
Same.
So
I like good documentaries.
Oh.
If you are a Mickey Mouse fan and you are a diehard Disney fan, there is no new information here.
I disagree.
Very.
There's not much.
I disagree.
There's very, very little new information here.
Okay. Fair.
About the only new information that I've heard from Disney is the fact that they actually addressed some of the old culturally insensitive parts of their shows, the Mickey Mouse cartoons. But this, guys, I found myself, trying to figure out where I was at one point. Surely I'm halfway through this, guys. I was 20 minutes in.
Woof.
There is very, Steve, as far as, I think it was actually the skateboard shop that was like their first studio in home. Tell me actually more about that shop. Tell me what they did while they were at that shop. Tell me about Tell me about their history in Kansas City. Why was Walt back in New York on that train? Because that was not directly from, it seemed like they made it seem like that was directly from the Oswald meeting. It was not. There was he was coming back from another meeting. I cannot wait till the next question, which is, did Walt deserve the credit? But Steve, I'm with you. This completely glossed over that question as far as the true origins of Mickey Mouse was far less than 5 minutes. Yes, they showed one of the early model sheets for him, but the true history of Mickey Mouse and the true story of how he came to be was not in this. Kate, as our resident mouse expert, what were your thoughts?
I have a lot to say. Pete, I thought I was going to disagree with you on stuff, and I actually agree with you on every single point you made. So I went into this. I have made no secret on the podcast of that. I worked for Disney for a very long time. I was laid off, unfortunately, in the COVID snap, and I was nervous about watching it. I actually texted Derek and I said, I am either going to love this documentary or this documentary is going to make me very sad and miss my job. And it did a little of both. So things that I loved, which you all have already brought up. I didn't know, which is actually kind of wild to me that I didn't know this. I didn't know anything about any of the war efforts. I didn't know any of that. I didn't know that the way they portrayed Mickey during World War II was more on the home front. And I loved that they explained why. I liked that a lot. I liked, to me, even though Pete, I totally hear you of that, like some of it was like, okay, come on guys. Like, come on, Hitler never stopped liking Mickey. But I found that very, very interesting. But I also am fascinated by when how pop culture and things like that affect or change or shift when world events happen. I find things like that just so fascinating.
I do just to interrupt for 1 second. I do think that the part up to World War II was the best part of the special, and most of the stuff in World War II was pretty good. As I said, why they had to say that like Hitler didn't like Mickey, because that particular phrasing I didn't care for, but I do like the way they showed that he and the other characters were used, and that was very interesting. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. I love the introduction of Donald. I love how they explained the introduction of Donald, that Mickey couldn't show, they had to keep him in a certain light. And I also like one of the tiny things that I found so fascinating is the way that they changed drawing Mickey's eyes. That instead of giving him all black eyes with the little notch out of it, that they gave him actual pupils and like made his eyes, and how that changed how they told the story. I found that fascinating. I will say, much like Steve, I'm so glad you said this. I'm so grateful that they didn't just gloss over the not so great things that happened with Mickey and some of the original things. That was a sign of the times a bit, which does not make it okay, but it was a sign of the times. But I'm so grateful that they didn't just skip over the fact that Mickey wasn't great in certain, like he forced Minnie to kiss him in one thing, and there were the black.
No. It was not in one thing.
Well, in one of the examples that they showed, I meant.
Okay.
And like the
Steve
black
McWillie
face,
playing
like,
crazy. All the original
yeah,
ones,
and
he grabs her and kisses
sure.
her.
So this is where I struggle is
Okay, but
as someone, go ahead.
she's already his girlfriend, right? Like if I grab my girlfriend and kiss her, is that wrong?
But she's not his true girlfriend in the first couple.
True.
Well, okay.
There in the slide that, or in the skit that they showed,
she's sort of mad about it. Yeah.
Her, and she says no. And then he gets mad and he grabs her anyway. But but where this is hard for me, and I did struggle with this a lot at the end. And I want to make sure that I am politically correct here, because I don't want to speak out of turn as a former cast member who does still have a lot of integrity for the company. You are trained when you are learning any character, but specifically one of the VIPs, specifically either of the mice. You are trained that Mickey is the host. He is welcoming to everyone. He is kind to everyone. He is your welcomer. He is the face. Mickey doesn't get to throw tantrums like Donald. Mickey doesn't get to be sassy like Minnie Mouse. He is the one that pulls the chair out for you and says, "Welcome to the table." So when they started talking about Mickey being the face of consumerism, which I get it, especially having been laid off by Disney, I get it. Like, I've been salty, but looking, that little kid, oh my God, Derek, your son who did the hot dog dance, he doesn't give a flying flip about consumerism. He wants to do the hot dog dance with Mickey Mouse. And I can tell you, I met hundreds of thousands of guests standing in the shoes of the mouse. And those guests they're not thinking about consumerism. They're thinking about one of the most memorable memories I have. I was hanging out with Mickey, and there was probably 10 autograph books. And so Mickey was just signing, and the woman holding the autograph books very, very softly said, she had a whole bunch of kids with her. It was just her and a bunch of kids. And she said, "Mickey, this is the first time I'm coming. I'm their grandmother, and this is the first time we're coming without their papa. And I just want to say thank you." And Mickey, mid-autograph, stopped, handed all of the books to the attendant, and just hugged this woman. And she started to cry. And that is... Sorry. That's a memory. And that's not about consumerism. That is taking people away from the humdrum of their lives, the things that they struggle with, the things that are hard. That's what I miss about my job. I'm so sorry. I was not expecting to get emotional.
That's okay.
No.
So, and I'll wrap up. I know I'm talking a lot. I'm very, very passionate about this. I do have an issue with the new shorts, the new Mickey shorts, because Mickey is portrayed, and I've watched all of them. Mickey is portrayed very angry. Mickey yells at Minnie Mouse. Mickey would never yell at Minnie Mouse. And I get it. This contradicts how Walt drew Mickey in the first. I get it. But the Mickey that I learned and that I was trained, Mickey would never, ever, ever raise his voice to Minnie Mouse ever in 100 million years. So when they were like, "Oh yeah, the shorts, they brought back the beauty of Mickey. I'm like, absolutely freaking not. So anyway, I will let us move on to the next one. Sorry, continue.
Well, my question is, if the shorts are so popular, how come that is not the Mickey Mouse that is greeting people?
I don't think
Why?
you want me to answer that. Because he looks coked out in the new drawing. Like,
You don't
he
want me to
looks
answer
like
that
he
because
went
he
on a
does it anyway.
binger the night before. And
Oh, but I'm okay with the drawing style, and some of them are good. But I completely agree with what you're saying there, Kate, is that in some of them he's like way too angry. Because
angry.
Like mischievous is one thing.
Yes.
Anger is a different thing.
But,
so to make him,
I would say almost all the characters are not true, at least what I view as the representation.
Agreed.
Like Donald's almost too mean. I mean, Donald has an attitude, but they all don't really match up with what I see traditional Disney character for each of them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like Goofy's the one that actually bothers me the most.
Goofy's
Because
too
he
stupid.
looks like a mess head.
Instead of
Yeah.
being he's stupid.
Yeah, Goofy's too stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. We've touched on this, and I think this is one that at least Steve and I really want to dive into. Okay, Steve. Walt is seen as the creator of Mickey. Mickey's God. Like, he is the embodiment of Mickey Mouse. Does Walt deserve all the credit he gets for Mickey Mouse?
Absolutely not. I would say Walt is the sort of the heart and soul of Mickey. We have Mickey because he was the voice and everything, but credit has to be given to works. I know there's another documentary, like Hand Behind the Mouse. I haven't watched it yet. It's on my to watch list, but he deserves just as much credit. It was sort of a team effort. And then in the documentary, I was sort of disappointed where they talked about this myth, but it was not really addressed. What truly, like, I was watching going, what are you saying? What is the myth? Like, the train ride was a myth, but you weren't very clear about where it was true and what was not. Right.
Can I want to know really quick.
Yeah,
right
go ahead.
There? So I will say, in the parks, we are trained and taught that the train ride is how Mickey Mouse came to be. That is what we are taught, and what you are. Now, I don't want to say coached on, because it's not coached, but whether you go through tradition or your training period, and yes, we focused on it because I was in entertainment and we were bringing these characters to life. That is what we were taught, is that is how Mickey Mouse came to be, was on a train ride.
Well, and what I would say the special does say is that the train story is mythic, and once myth takes over, the myth is what matters. So, but I agree they could have gone into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right. We'll talk about what the myth is, but let's give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. To me, Walt Disney's biggest fan was Walt Disney. Walt Disney was huge about, we are a family here. We are, I'm Uncle Walt. Everyone is equal until someone else tries to get credit. And then that's part of the reason Now Works left, is Disney would not give him credit. He and his brother Roy had huge falling outs with the fact that Walt gave himself more value of the studio than he gave to his brother.
Okay, but raise your hand if this surprises anyone.
But according to the myth of Walt Disney, no one talks about this.
Well, no, there's a lot of things about Walt, because no one wants to see the side of Walt that created Blackface Mickey. No one wants to see the side of Walt. No one wants to see that side. We want to imagine Walt as our amazing grandpa who created this world that we can disappear and forget our problems in.
But if
we don't want to face.
But if he's your amazing grandpa, you got to know everyone's grandpa's got those skeletons in the closet.
Oh yeah, my grandpa was
yeah. But
I mean, yeah, Walt was a tough guy to work for. I mean, he had very high standards, and yeah, he propelled that myth, right? I mean, that it was a great story. I agree with you that they should have. Well, anyways, I'm jumping ahead, so I'll let Steve finish and go to.
That I'm saying is, I felt if this is truly the story of Mickey Mouse, give more credit where it's due. I mean, I was surprised where, as this being a Disney company film, they said as much as they did. I felt like if you're going to go there, let's go more, give more in, like, let's clear it up. There are our Disney fans where we're still going to like you. Just give us the true history so we can appreciate it even more. So,
yeah, there is nothing wrong with, there is nothing wrong with saying that iWorks was at minimum a co-creator. There are all sorts of stories going around, but there is a apocryphal story of a little kid asks Walt Disney to draw him a picture of Mickey Mouse, and he has to hand the paper to iWorks.
Wait, say that one more time.
There's a story, like at a party, a little kid asks Walt Disney to draw him a picture of Mickey Mouse, and he has to hand the paper to iWorks to get the picture drawn.
Wow.
The whole Walt never drew Mickey. He never animated Mickey. Every single of the Disney cartoons for the first 3 years was of iWorks.
Was Walt an animator?
But Walt wasn't an animator. Yeah.
Well,
very
he was a
early
sketch
on,
artist. Yeah.
He tried to be early on.
Yeah. But he found out quickly that he was not a great artist. So, I think, but iWorks was, there is, I believe, a documentary out there about iWorks that's really
called Hand Behind the Mouse.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. And I do agree. I wish they mentioned him so they didn't completely ignore him at least. But I think I'm with Derek. I think he's the co-creator at minimum.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And surprisingly, I just looked, Hand Behind the Mouse, not on Disney Plus.
No.
Fascinating.
Kate,
but isn't that one also made by Disney or backed by Disney?
I would do a little bit more looking. Kate, as our, for lack of a better term, indoctrinated in the Disney religion, does Walt get all the credit for Mickey?
Absolutely not. 100% not. I mean, so had you asked me that 8 years ago, I would have said yes. Now, I think Walt deserves the credit for why Disney is the juggernaut that it is, because Walt didn't give up. I mean, every turn Walt was told, there is, like, truly, if you look at everything that the Disney animation and everything went through, there's no reason that it should have become the empire that it is today. They should have failed, and they did fail. They failed, and they failed, and they failed, and they failed, and he just kept pushing. So for that, Walt does get the credit. Walt gets the credit for continuing to say, no, let's try this. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. But when it comes to, and they did hit on this of, you got, I always say his name wrong. Is it Ub? Is that how you say his name?
Okay.
Ub gets so much, and Pete's 100% right. Ub should get so much of the credit for it. But I was also fascinated when in this documentary talked about the inkers and to be an ink master, and how it was the women. It was the women that were doing hundreds of women. And it made me like secretly want them to make a movie kind of like The Help or Hidden Figures.
There is one. There's a documentary on that's, I think it's called Ink and Paint.
I think it is too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's about the women.
That was gonna say, I wish that they would create a movie that's about the women of Disney, even though.
Have you ever seen The Reluctant Dragon?
I have not.
It's Walter Winchell takes a tour of the Disney studios, and you see all of this. You get to see iWorks with his cameras. You get to see the Ink and Paint girls.
Yeah.
Inking a cell from, I think it's Bambi.
So anyway, I wish they would create like a fiction, nonfiction, kind of like Hidden Figures or The Help, a live action movie like that. I think that would be fascinating. So no, I don't think it was also like, when you look at how they I could actually go back and watch this documentary again because I did find it fascinating. When they were like, "Oh, we can't keep having Mickey pronounced this way. What are we gonna do to have a protagonist? Oh, we'll create Donald." You can't tell me that was all Walt. I
No.
think it
Oh,
took a
Walt did not
village.
I know Walt did not like Goofy.
This whole process took a village. It wasn't just Walt. Do I think that Walt gets all of the credit because he is Disney? He is the face of Disney. Roy didn't want to be the face of Disney. Roy wanted to be the money guy. He wanted to more or less play second fiddle, more sort of. But no, I think that this was 100% a village, and that the village does not get nearly the credit that they deserve.
And but I want to give this credit to Walt. The reason Mickey hit, and they did hit upon it in this, was sound, and that was Walt. Walt was the one that said, sound is coming. We got to get on this bandwagon.
Yes.
Not all the studios, I shouldn't say a lot of studios. I mean, if anybody's ever seen Singing in the Rain, a lot of the studios thought, oh, sound, this is stupid. He was right on top of that. And, they did mention it in this, that the first two Mickey shorts didn't really do that well. And then the third one, they ended up recording sound to it. And they actually went back and redid the original two with sound after the fact when it hit so big. But I mean, he did that many times, right? He was the first to have color animation. He was the first to have a full length feature. He went to television long before a lot of the studios wanted to, because the studios were all afraid of television. But he was like, television, awesome. This is a great way to advertise my product, Well, so that was really where Walt excelled, was in in coming up with concepts. So like, that's where I want to give him still give him credit for Mickey, because it was his idea to have this kind of everyman mouse. Did the actual design and the animation and the stories themselves come from Ub? Yes, but to say Walt didn't have a hand in it, I wouldn't agree with that either.
I will say I do love how when Brett Iwan, who I have wanted to meet so bad, and he's been at World so many times that I've never gotten to meet him, but how it's been passed down through the four men who have done Mickey, the voice of Mickey, that you're just filling in for the boss. I do love that. And I'm so grateful that Walt was the original voice of Mickey. He is the one who gave us that playful, welcoming, warm, young voice. So
okay, Kate, I'm going to start with give you the first shot on this one. What is your favorite either Mickey Mouse cartoon or the movie that he's in? What's your favorite thing that Mickey Mouse has done?
So I have two. To watch as a kid was always Mickey's Christmas Carol. I loved Mickey's Christmas Carol. I just always fell in love with Mickey and the little tiny Tim and Scrooge McDuck. Like, I love that. But the movie or character that I also resonate with, because it was one of the roles that I did in Fantasmic for many, many, many years, was the Brave Little Tailor Mickey. The Brave Little Tailor, it's just heartwarming. So those are my two. What about you, Pete?
Well, if I'm allowed to include ones where it's not just Mickey, because I think my very favorite Disney short is Clock Cleaners. So I have to, even though that's got Donald and Goofy in it, I've got to give it to that one. I'm going to, if I got to go with Mickey alone, I will go last to say this because I don't want to take it from somebody else. So Steve, I'm going to let you go.
Oh, there's so many. I agree with Kate. The Taylor one with the Beanstalk. I know we just recently watched the Ghost one too, with Donald and Goofy. I think when those three are together, it's great. I remember watching that one. I had the little viewfinder growing up. Not so much the newer stuff. It's more like the classic older color ones. I mean, Steamboat Willie, I appreciate where it came from, but it would be those other ones. Yes, I think that's what it is. I'm more a Donald person, so that's where I tended to go with Donald than Mickey. But I appreciate that I have Donald's there because of Mickey. So, Derek, what do you think?
The first Mickey Mouse cartoon in color was the band concert. Okay. Also, one of the first interactions of Mickey and Donald. I would argue Donald makes the show, but to me, that is the Disney Mickey Mouse cartoon that I could sit down and watch again and again and again and again. One that's underappreciated a little bit is again a Mickey, Donald, Goofy I think it's called Trailer Trouble, where they're in basically a pull-along trailer.
That's a good one.
They have issues with. But if I'm going to go some kind of a movie appearance, he has reprised this role more than once. And Pete, this is the one I'm stealing from you, I apologize. You've got to go with the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, you've got to go because I remember watching Fantasia 2000, and you watch along, and it's all computer done. It's all computer done. It's all computer done. Then they included Sorcerer's Apprentice, and there is just the crispness and the quality. Yes, it was a little grainy, but there was something special about the hand-drawn animation, and there's something special about that imagination Mickey that I loved.
The Sorcerer's Apprentice is so well animated, such a concise story in however long it is, 8-10 minutes, and beginning, middle, and end, and just I don't know it, and hey, it's the hat. Come on.
So I have a question before we wrap up. What did you all think of the little tiny short that was like the whole creation of this? The Mouse in a Minute or whatever it was.
Was to me a vehicle just to kind of draw the whole special together and explain and show them doing it. I didn't think it was anything special at all.
I agree that I think it was amazing once you realize that's all brand new animation that those animators looked at and drew. Like when you sit there and because I've seen the originals of matching it up pretty well. Like if I had to guess, someone showed me that, I thought that you took clips and sort of threw things together, but knowing that it was all brand new, hand-drawn is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Excuse me. I was okay with it because, as I said, it did. I mean, a documentary has to tell a story, and it helped tie the story together using those three animators to tell kind of Mickey's history as well. I thought that part was good. I was also really happy that they showed it because my wife at one point was like, "Are they going to show it?" I'm like, "That would be really dumb if they didn't." So I was glad they did.
I just wanted it to have a different ending. Like I wanted him to be spit back out into the hallway.
Right.
Yeah. It just kind of ended, and I was like, "Wait, that had no resolution." Like I loved the progress and like how it went from each thing, and then it just kind of like ended at Steamboat Willie, and it was just like done. And I was like, wait, I want it to come full circle. But I also was very glad that they showed it because otherwise I would have not been happy.
Yeah. So. Okay. As we always do, when we are watching new full length, something self-contained, we have to rate this on Cups of Pixie Dust out of 5. As always, Kate, you're up.
Yeah, you know what? I actually did learn a lot from this. I don't know how I missed. Like, I know you all a lot of you are saying, like, oh, there's no new information. I actually learned a lot, especially about all of the war and that kind of stuff. And, like, the creation of Donald. I didn't know any of that, which is crazy to me that I didn't know any of that. So I'm actually going to give this a 3. I thought it was good. I would probably go rewatch this. Maybe a while from now, a few years from now. Pete, what about you?
Yeah, I was debating a 3. I think I'm going to go 2.5. It was kind of right in the middle for me because I said parts of it were really good. Parts of it drove me kind of crazy. I maybe would go back and watch it at some point because, as I said, there were things I liked about it. I might fast forward through parts of it.
Yeah.
this trying especially like the 60s, trying to work that Mickey was part of the counterculture, and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I would fast forward through all that, but
agreed.
but there was some good stuff in there, so 2.5.
I was thinking about this on my way home today, going back and forth between 2.5 and 3. That's where I'm stuck. I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with 2.5, just because some parts of it were weak. And I think they glossed over. There's really good parts, and some parts are there. I'm going to go with 2.5. Derek, what do you think?
For me, a 2.5. If it's on, I won't turn it off. So this is a 2. There are so many better Disney documentaries out there. We have watched several of them on this show. If you're only going to watch one, this doesn't even come into the top 5. It's I said a 2.5. If it's on and someone's watching it, okay, I'll probably sit with them. At a 2, I get up and leave. And
it reminded me a little more of the behind the attraction ones, which were very hit and miss. Like some of them were good and some of them were really fluff, and this was kind of like in the middle of that.
Okay.
There was only one point, and I think it might have actually been during when they were like, Mickey Mouse and the hippies. It's the hippies and the Mickey Mouse. That was one of the times when I was like, okay, how much is left in this? How much more do we have?
That did happen though. What they didn't even call them hippies; they called them like yippies. Yeah. That did happen. They actually invaded Disneyland, and like I think they took over Tom Sawyer Island or something like that.
Lord.
Or I don't remember exactly what they took over.
I'm not gonna lie to you all. I would pay actual money to see that happen so that I can sit back in Frontierland and watch it happen. Overall, as someone who has spent an exorbitant amount of time with Mickey Mouse, I do feel like this did Mickey Mouse decent justice. There are very few things that I am very protective of in this world. The legacy of Mickey Mouse is one of them. And a perfect example of this is when they redid the Festival of Fantasy Parade at World, and they had, for COVID or whatever, and they had Mickey Mouse up on the float, and they had Minnie Mouse walking in front of the float. Mickey would never allow that to happen. Mickey would say Minnie rides on the airship and I walk in front, because Mickey would never allow him to ride on a float and her to walk.
Okay.
Those are the kind of things that I get, because Mickey is the epitome of chivalry. He is the epitome of just welcome, kind. He will listen to you. He will drop everything and you are his first priority. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to step up my soapbox now.
Okay, so next week we are dropping into the Christmas season with 2 new Disney specials this season. First, we have the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, which now, Pete, you've watched this and basically said that we don't really need to have seen any of the previous. Am I correct? You said we don't really need to see any of the previous movies to really get it.
No, I don't think so. I mean, as I said, it helps to know. The main 2 characters in it are Drax and Mantis. Drax is kind of, he's not dumb, but he's a very literal guy. Like he doesn't get like idioms or anything like that. So he's a very, very literal character. So he doesn't really get a lot of normal society. And then Mantis is an empath. So I think if you know that, it's probably the main thing you got to know about those 2 characters if you haven't seen it. It's also pretty short, which is but I think I'll save my other comments until next week.
Okay. And the other one we're watching is a new stop motion show, Mickey Saves Christmas. It is also short. That's one I've actually already watched, and I will save my comments for that for next week. So we are diving into a couple of new Mickey's Disney Christmas specials next week. As always, if you have suggestions, please email us at plusplatoon@gmail.com. Send suggestions on Facebook. That's where we got this one. Guys, we want to know what you want us to watch, because otherwise I get to pick everything, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Don't subject us to that, people.
He won't let us ever choose.
Although everyone knows if I was choosing everything, there would be no Marvel ever on the show.
All we would watch is Zorro. We would just watch Zorro.
No. Okay,
one after another.
Now, there's nothing wrong with Zorro, and yes, that is coming at some point this spring.
The Zorro podcast.
Yes. But
the world
guys,
needs this.
We've got new shows coming out every Thursday, YouTube, every podcast platform that you would get it. And guys, thank you so much for listening, and we will see everyone next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Plus Platoon. Be sure to subscribe to the Plus Platoon podcast to keep getting great content each week. Then head over to Apple Podcast and leave those 5-star reviews, as they help make the Plus Platoon visible to even more Disney Plus fans. Also, go to YouTube and like and subscribe to the Plus Platoon channel, where you can watch all future episodes live. If you have a question for the Plus Platoon, please send us an email to plusplatoon@gmail.com or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @PlusPlatoon.
The Plus Platoon is a Disney Plus fan podcast and is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company or the Disney Plus streaming service. All opinions expressed on the show are solely those of the individual hosts and in no way reflect the views of the Walt Disney Company.
Thanks for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode, because the Plus Platoon is to be continued.